Hello there, and welcome to a new episode War Commander for Beginners. This one is gonna be part 2 of the defense, and basically I'm gonna go over actual defense against a person that is attacking your base. So, let's get straight to it. The attacker will use ground or air, so let's divide those and focus on those two separately. Let's start with air. Air is the easiest to defend against because nowadays we've got Screamer, and Screamer with the new tech that you could get with Bloodthor in Gear Store actually slows the enemy down by 80%, which is massive. Like, the air is gonna be like snails basically. And to divide it even further down, you've got high altitude air and regular air. Now, high altitude air is gonna be the biggest threat, the biggest problem. So a little tip that you can use, or advice that you can use, is to always have one high altitude air unit in your towers. For me, for example, it's Artemis. I did get a lot of questions about which high altitude air is best. That is kind of up to you, but basically I would say Artemis is super good because they've got that splash damage and they got that area damage. So against a bunch of aces, it's the best unit there is. It's going to be super well. Personally, I would mix it up. So if you actually want to defend online, and then I would also put Buzzsaws, because they can rip units like the Legendary Phantom. Like, if it goes over, make sure it will only go over once. If you got a few Buzzsaws, that's amazing. So Buzzsaws and Artemis are my personal choice. Now against air, we can also use our Nick. We switch out Nick with the air attack, and then he will focus on air only. So if you've got a few Artemis, a few Buzzsaws, you've got the Screamer, and you've got Nick, then literally you have nothing to worry about, because air is basically not really gonna come through at that point. Let's see where it is. Is it here? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so add 50 range, and you can only target ground units. So what you need to do is add the 50 range, and that's it, and then you will be able to attack air. Don't use the combined one, because then he won't be able to. But yeah, air is not gonna really do much against your base once you have those units in. What you kinda will have to be afraid of is the ground attack, because usually PvP players will start with the ground attack and they will just walk all over you and destroy your base without you even realizing it happened. So obviously, what can we do against ground attacks? Ground attacks is fairly more difficult to defend against, because it can overwhelm you and you might not have enough units. So two units that I love using in the defense is the Lancer or the Overseer. The reasons why is that because they get an immense range boost when they're in defense. So Overseer is 600 range and it gets 200 extra, so 800 range in defense. It's massive. Then the Lancer is 600 range. It has a technology that gives 30 range, and in defense it gets 150 extra, so basically it's 780 range. Now the reason why I love those two units is because they outrange the Darkstorm, and Darkstorm is basically the biggest threat against your base defense, because it cancels out units, it cancels out towers. Very often people don't have railguns in their base, so there's not much left that can kill the Darkstorm, and that's why you need to cleverly use and control Overseers or Lancers to try and kill that Darkstorm, because once the Darkstorm is down, the attacker will panic and his attack will crumble down. Trust me, I've seen it so many times. Now, we already talked about Screamer, but there's more different kind of defense units, and you can see them here. So usually I've got my Screamer in there. When I'm offline is just Screamer, a few Lancers, a few Buzzsaws, and that's pretty much it, because I don't want too much damage. But when online, you can use Judge as well. Judge makes the attacker do more rash decisions and speed up his attack, because the attacker does not really want to stand still, because the Jock will do decent damage to them. So the Screamer we went over. Pegasus personally is a no-go, because it's 560 size and it's extremely slow. It's way too slow. Yes, it's super useful against air, and yes, it's high altitude, but it's so slow, so slow. With the range of 450, personally, not really worth it. But if you want some unit to randomly attack the base, you know, put it in. Like, as you can see, before it ever reaches, the enemy air is gone. Like, but yeah, personal favor. What else? The Executioner, and I've put him in my armory, I believe. The Kraken. Where is he? Where's my little bat Kraken? There he is. They can actually be very useful. The Kraken, his damage is not too good. Damage is not too high. But, a big but, he is stealth. I believe you need workshop for that. But when you have the workshop, he is stealth, which is amazing. The enemy usually doesn't have those radar little tankies with them. So your Kraken can pretty much go up to the enemy and deal some damage to their entire platoon. It's pretty good, actually, but low damage. And then the Executioner. Executioner is very good when the attack is like, it's going full on, things are going everywhere, the attacker needs to do a gazillion things at once, and amongst that chaos you can use Executioner. The range is very low, but his damage is brutal. If he gets close, then yeah, you really don't want that to happen as an attacker. So in that situation, it's super good. So when you're online, you can also use Devout, for example. But personally, I don't. Which brings us to the next topic, which is the faction. A lot of people wonder, is it worth focusing just to one faction? The answer to that is, I don't really know. I've been kind of struggling with that myself. But if you do choose a faction to defend, it has to be Survivor. You're stuck with Survivors. And that's kind of the reason that I don't do it, because attacking needs to be Sentinels and defending needs to be Survivors. So you will have to choose. Anyways, the reason it has to be Survivors is because of Screamer. Screamer is a must-have unit. If you don't have it, then your base does not stand a chance. It just doesn't. The air overwhelms you, kills you, and yeah, you're lost even before the battle begun. So you have to have Screamer, and he is Survivor. Now, if you go Survivor all the way, then you might need to change your Gen 2 platforms as well. To go over Gen 2, you get a regular turret, you upgrade the turret, then you can see advanced structures, you go to that, and then you can pick a Gen 2 platform. You need Gen 2 platforms to put on Gen 2 turrets as well. So you've got the Lead Storm, you've got the Sledge, you've got the Upholder, and so on. Now, the reason why that is important is because every turret is linked to a faction as well. So the Lead Storm is Corpus, the Sledge is Survivor, and the Upholder is Sentinel. If you want to go Survivor all the way, then you need to switch those out to the Sledge. Your turrets. Now, you could go Survivor all the way because of controller. Controller, their range is massive and you really need it. So you could put controllers in your towers, you could put buzzsaws in there, and you could put sharpshooters in there. And you'll be actually pretty well defended. No problem whatsoever. Your base itself, also no problem, because Lancers are Sentinel as well. So again, you've got one unit that can outrange the Darkstorm. So if you want to actually have faction and enjoy those faction boosts, let's check it out again. So Survivor, you get loyalty, so 10% you reduced damage, which is amazing, and then Warlust, so you get those once you go Survivor all the way. Is it useful? It's a question. Ask 100 people and a lot of, like 50-50 will say yes it is or no it's not. Personally, I don't do it because I don't want to switch between Sentinel and Survivor all the time, because Survivor and you need to attack. The reason for that is the Vouts. They're so powerful, but once they get concussed they're useless. Anyways, back to defense. So it is actually possible to do. Go Survivor all the way. So that is it on part 2. Let's recap everything very quickly. So the attacker has ground and air. For air, Screamer is the most important one, and then you can use Nick with his air attack, or for personal reasons, a variety of Artemis and Buzzsaws. You could put them in your base, you can put them in the towers. Then for attack, I like to switch it up, so you can use the defensive units like the Kraken or Executioner or Judge. And don't forget Lancers and Overseers, because they outrange the Darkstorm. In the towers, I like Controllers and Devout's the best. For war production, I actually like Caretaker. For my War Factory, for my barracks, either Cerberus or extra air like Artemis. And for air, my airfield, there's not much really good, but I like Envoys because of the range. Most of these tips are, of course, when you're actually online and they're attacking. When you're offline, basically what I use is Screamer, occasionally a few Buzzsaws somewhere hidden, and some Lancers. If you got those in your base, most attackers will be like, this isn't worth my repair time. You will go flat, you will have some repair time, but if you're lucky, the attacker panics a bit and has more repair time than you. So I hope this was helpful. Please like, please subscribe, and I see you guys next time.